After 2 cardiac arrests in 2014, I had to take a break because, my heart stopped for 20 minutes. I didn't know if I would fully recover physically. But in that break, I started thinking, I forgot to take care of myself. And I started looking at what can I do to make myself better. And one of the things was my mental health.
Terrence the Teacher.
I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, and I've also studied neurolinguistics. Brain Edit is all about optimizing people's mental health. Why aren't people calm? And why are they all over the place? You've got to sort of go a little bit deeper. You have emotions, you have thoughts, which is the mental, and you have the physiology. Now, the physiology and the emotion work together. And as they work together, the mental is stimulated. But if you calm down the physiology, and therefore the emotion, the mental gets calmed down. But what I now teach my clients is
Hello, I'm Vimla, and welcome to my podcast, VimYoga, the Champagne Yogi. I have today a wonderful friend and guest, Terrence the Teacher, who calls himself a mental fitness coach.
That's correct. And I'm talking to, is it a spiritual coach?
Well, I do call myself the spiritual fitness coach.
There we go.
So between us, we have it pretty covered, mental and spiritual.
This is why we've always got along as well.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you for having me, by the way.
Well, I wanted to bring you on the podcast to discuss really what is it when you call yourself a mental fitness coach?
So my background is I'm a therapist. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, and I've also studied neurolinguistics. And obviously, and I'm sure we can get into that, with a background in personal training, Pilates teaching, and eventually, obviously, bringing that all into a program that I've created. But this program that I've created, and I'm sure we'll discuss that as well, which is called the Brain Edit, is all about optimizing people's mental health. And in the end, as an ex-fitness trainer and Pilates coach, it's muscles that you just strengthen by repetition. And I'm now doing the same thing with the brain. I'm making the brain stronger through repetition of positive patterns and habits. And that's why I like calling it mental fitness coach.
Yes, I think it's a wonderful title for what you're doing.
Yeah.
And tell me, when you say brain fitness, can you explain what actually you're doing? Are they exercises? Are they breath techniques? Or are they...
So the brain is also a muscle. So I call the program the Brain Edit. So we editing how your brain works. Now, how does the brain operate? It learns through repetition of patterns. Someone very famous once said, neurons that fire together, wire together. And what I try and do is how do I take set patterns, beliefs, because it's just neurons firing in a set way.
Yes.
And then engage with them through different exercises to change how the person think or feel or their beliefs if they don't serve them anymore. So it's about improving, changing people for the better through repetition of new habits and patterns. And with the brain, there's different ways that you can interrupt this neural firing and wiring. And by doing that, you can change how the person actually engages with life themselves.
And have you seen how people change? I mean, have you seen results that you were even surprised to see?
Well, I'm going to use myself first off as an example.
Okay.
I obviously did clinical hypnosis, neurolinguistics. Then I went into mindfulness meditation. And after 2 cardiac arrests in 2014, I had to take a break because, my heart stopped for 20 minutes and then another 10 minutes. They didn't know, how much damage there was. I didn't know if I would fully recover physically. But in that break, I started thinking, I forgot to take care of myself. And I started looking at what can I do to make myself better. And one of the things was my mental health, because you sit there, you don't know if you're going to be able to work again. You don't know what life holds in store. You also realize you're mortal, because I faced my own mortality.
Yes.
And then bringing everything that I had taught my clients, plus mindfulness meditation, into the equation. Every day I started doing these little breath exercises, these little mental exercises, visualizations, which I'm sure you know a lot about.
I do.
Because we've spoken about it.
Yes.
Into my practice, into my little program. And people started saying to me, you've changed. There's something different about you. And then I thought, let's start now bringing it to my clients. And, COVID hit us a few years ago. And I was privileged to work with a lot of people, especially on Zoom, a lot of young people at uni, etc. Now they were stuck in their dorm rooms or at home. And I started teaching them this little brain edit program. And it was phenomenal to see the changes, the shifts, the positive impact that it created. And that's when I realized I was onto something here. And just to say that the main principle that's the most important is simplifying it. Simple techniques.
Yes.
Take away all the extra oogly googly, make it hands-on, practical, so that people can use it in their everyday life. And I think, it has. My clients, the reviews that I've got, the feedback, the referrals tells me that it's working.
Yes, that's wonderful, because what I've tried to do with my yoga teaching is to take the most complicated, complex philosophy to make it accessible for everyone, to break it down where it's like what you say, simple, easy, and understandable. Because if you try to read Sanskrit, I had to read and write Sanskrit for my studies, but it's impossible for the average person to understand. So that's a huge challenge, to take something so complicated and make it so simple and accessible. So that seems to be what you've done with your brain edit work.
100%. I mean, and like you're right, because if you think about Sanskrit, if you think about all the big yogi masters,
yes,
and then let's look at all the big names in neurology and biology. We know all those famous people, and they've taught us the science. There's books, there's bestseller books. But who's going to take that and then translate it into a simpler language?
Yes.
For the person that lives in central London or wherever that is, and they just need something to make their day better, to make their physiology, their spiritual connection, or their mental connection better. And I think that's what you and I, that's where we actually get along so well.
Yes.
With, is that we take away all the, we call it the oogly googly, and we just go, but actually, this is what you're doing. And this is how you do it. Simple, simple, simple.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like all the breath work that we do, the pranayama part of yoga. It's just so simple when it's explained so simply, and it's so beneficial, isn't it? So, do you use a lot of breath work in your practice?
So the brain edit, if I can, so just so that we can follow sequence. It's got three sort of areas that I work on. So the first one is something called the 333 technique, which has got 3 techniques that helps people to move through their daily lives, which we can discuss at some point. And then the second part to it is mindfulness meditation. And there I bring in breath work, and I bring in meditations. But what I've done with my breath work is, when I studied to become a mindfulness coach, I remember that when they sat us down in the beginning, we were quite a big group. We had to do a 20-minute meditation, and then we had to go and practice it. And a week later, when we came back for the next lecture, I think that the group was halved by about 50%. And I think by the end of the training program, I think maybe 30% of the people were left. And one of the things I realized is, if you start someone off on a 20-minute meditation that's never meditated, they're not going to meditate.
No, they can't.
They can't, because their brain is not trained to that.
It's impossible.
And then as a fitness trainer, I thought, what would I do with a client when I was a fitness trainer? I would put them on a treadmill for like a minute or two.
Mm-hmm.
Just say, let's just walk, see how you are. And then you would build it up. And I thought, well, let's do the same with mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
So my meditation starts off with 1-2 minute meditations.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually we get into the longer ones.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, breathwork is definitely part of my meditation, but it was more about making it so easy and simple and again, short, that people could actually go, I can do it.
Yes.
Set them up for success, not failure.
Well, exactly. I mean, I found that in my practice for all these years. It's like a child. You tell a child to sit still, it's never going to sit still. So in our yoga principles, we use the breath to begin the meditation work. So we do a lot of breathing, calming the mind down, which is a natural reaction to deep breathing, and getting the mind to calm. And before you know it, that is when you can actually ask them to sit still. And that's when we can begin the whole meditation process. So that's the way in the yoga philosophy, we get the meditation techniques beginning with the breath. And then once we use the breath to calm the mind, then we can begin to focus the mind. So slightly little bit different, but not too different.
Well, not really that different. So in my 333 technique, the first thing I talk about is the response model. And the response model is just how we interact with our environment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but it's made up out of 3 triangles. And the first triangle, which is the response model triangle, you have emotions, you have thoughts, which is the mental,
Mm-hmm.
and you have the physiology. Now, the physiology and the emotion work together. And as they work together, the mental is stimulated.
Mm-hmm.
But if you calm down the physiology, and therefore the emotion, the mental gets calmed down. So by doing breathwork, which is physical,
Yes, that's the physical side.
you are calming the
Yes.
individual down. And then the reading in the body is, oh, my vagus nerves has calmed down. My parasympathetic nervous system has calmed down. The heart rate slows down. The blood pressure
That's
slows
right.
down. Now, as that happens, the brain reads that as, oh, I'm safe. Oh, in this moment, all is okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then the person can mentally calm down. So it makes total sense to me.
Yes.
Makes total sense
Well,
to me.
it actually has the same basic principles.
Totally.
Because with the asanas, because we have hatha yoga, which is the first stage of yoga, because the idea is before you can start to train the mind, because that's really the goal, before you can do that, you have to discipline the body first. So it's
I agree. Yeah.
the same triangle in another form, but it's precisely the same thing. So you have the physical exercise, which is the hatha yoga, and all the asanas, the shoulder stands, the headstands, the back bends, and all of that. So many of my students say, why are we doing this? And I said, yes, you're doing this because, first of all, you're sending fresh oxygen into the bloodstream with the breath and the movements. So you're actually exercising and rejuvenating all the organs in the physical body. And that also is an excellent way that's the physical side. So after you can discipline your physical body, then you're looking at the mind. And that is where it's called Raj Yoga, which is the highest form of yoga. Then you have dharma, which is duty, karma, which is work. But the Raj Yoga is the one that actually is the mental. And then from the mental, you get to the spiritual, because only when you can control the mind can you connect with your higher self.
Yeah.
So it's quite similar. I think yours is more like a modern version
That's it.
of the basic principles of yoga.
That's precisely that. And, you can't reinvent the wheel,
No,
really.
no, not
But
really.
you can put bells and whistles on it, or you can
Yes.
take a lot of bells and whistles off and simplify. And that's what I try to do. And also, we live in an existence that evolves. So it's evolution. So we have to talk the language of the time that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, if you go back in history, there's a lot of patterns that suited that time and period. But we are now living in a very modern society.
That's right.
And that's what I try to do with this is So I don't think that I've come up with something new. I think that I've just taken existing concepts.
No, it's a reinterpretation.
Yeah, that's it.
And I think that that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because yoga, a lot of people, there's a lot of misconception about what yoga is. A lot of people think it's a religion and, oh, we can't do that because we're Catholics. But yoga has nothing to do with religion. But through the years, religion has used yoga to help their cause and their principles. So what I like about what you're doing is that you've taken that element completely away, and you're looking at more as a science. I can
100%.
see that you are looking at it more of a scientific. And a lot of people get, I think, a little bit nervous about the spiritual, even though they are attaining a spiritual path. They might not know it when they start with you, but ultimately, this is what you're doing.
You are so right. And that was very important to me, because you don't want to just reach a certain group of person. You want everyone to know this is for everyone, no matter what your background or your spiritual practices are. This is an add-on.
Yes.
But this add-on, even though it uses concepts from different whatever teachings, will actually physically, mentally, and emotionally help you, change you for the better.
And that's exactly what yoga is.
Yeah.
Yoga is yug, the union of mind, body, spirit, and emotional self. And the philosophy is only and when you are in harmony and balance with all these principles, then can you be happy and whole. I mean, that's the bottom line. And so we're achieving the same thing, just using different techniques. And isn't that the most important thing, that the student or the client, the patient, can actually heal? And this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's funny to say student, client, patient. That's why I called myself the teacher, by the way.
Yes.
Because it was like, I felt like I'm the teacher, but they're the ones that have to learn and go and do it for their betterment, for their achievement. Because you know this as well. Sometimes when you get a label, people put you on a sort of pedestal. But in the end, we're just teaching people.
That's right.
Tools, techniques. But they're the ones that are going to go and do it, and they're the ones that's going to achieve or not.
Yes.
So it depends, obviously, if you're a good teacher or not. But that's why it was so important for me to become Terrence the Teacher. Because I was worried that, because, sometimes they call you a guru.
I know.
Or they call you,
oh, gosh, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I actually legally changed my name to the Teacher. So my surname is the Teacher.
Yes, good.
Just so that no one can make a mistake when they see me. I'm the teacher. I'm not a guru. I'm teaching people how to achieve their goals.
Well, I've always had the same as you, that same aspect, because I have seen in the yoga world where students, sometimes I don't even think it's the teacher's fault, because some students, because they've learned so much, they've grown so much, they look up at you to the point where they look at you as the guru, and then you're in saffron robes, and then you're floating on somewhere else.
Some cloud.
Some cloud. Yes.
Well, this is why I like the fact that you call yourself Champagne Yogi.
Yes.
Because what you've done is that you've showed, listen, we're still human. We can still enjoy the good things in life.
Exactly.
Take me off the cloud because I'm one of you. Let's feel better and stronger and all that.
Exactly.
That we can have a nice sip of champagne.
Well, that is the reason why I called myself the champagne. I thought about it and I thought, that's what life is.
Yeah.
Enjoying your life. And you know how easy it is to sit on the mountain? Look at all the challenges we've had in our lives. So this is why I want people to understand that you can be everything you want to be. You finding the balance and the harmony is what the most important thing.
It is balance, yeah.
And it is all about balance. Have a glass of champagne. Enjoy your life. But the challenges that we're facing, we have to keep steady, because otherwise we're thrown off the bus or under the bus, right? Because if you don't have the tools to cope with life, you're done for.
I love that you say that, because that gives me, the next sort of intro to my program, because in this brain edit of mine, I told you there's three things, and then there's the 333 techniques. So I told you the first technique was what I called the response model. That means our reaction to everything that we experience. The second one is called the coping model.
Yes.
Because now you have to have a model that can give you a way of coping with whatever you're presented with.
Exactly.
Because that's what we have to do. We can't make people's lives better. We can't take away the challenges. But what we can do is that maybe we can just give them a little bit of, what is the word? Not energy. What is the word? Just give them more tools.
No, tools.
So that they can deal and cope with their life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now imagine if you get struck with a huge problem and then you don't know how to cope. And then, of course, you become irrational. You're never going to come up with the right solution. And then you keep running to others for help and assistance. You're going to get, everyone has a different opinion. And then you're more in a muddle than when you began. So in yoga, the teaching is to be centered and calm and balanced, because only then will you be able to solve your own problems. You will actually see it from the correct perspective. Because to be honest, running to one person, running to another person is never going to help you. If you have maybe somebody in your life that's always been advising you and you have confidence, that's one thing. But most people, when you are in that position of chaos, is actually running here and running there and running here. And so when you yourself are calm and balanced, you make the right decisions for your own life.
But then why aren't people calm? And why are they all over the place? You've got to sort of go a little bit deeper. And then I always give my clients this little sort of sketch. So just imagine you've got a beautiful brain, and the brain decides to have a meeting because now we have to make a decision on something that's happening in our lives. And then the brain sits around this table, and at the table, it's got the prefrontal cortex, it's got the amygdala, it's got the hippocampus, the hypothalamus, the insula, and they're all sitting around the table. And then the brain goes, okay, guys, we now have to decide if we're going to do this or not, because, otherwise we will be in trouble. And then it's now I'm going to open up this meeting. Who wants to say something? And then the amygdala jumps onto the table and goes, I'm in charge. Oh my God, we've got to run. It's the end of the world. Oh my God, we're all going to be killed. Come, you've got to hide under the table. Get out of the door. And it screams and it pushes adrenaline, dopamine, oxytocin through the body, because it's the main part of your brain that is active, because that's through stress, behavior, and patterns. And then the other parts of the brain goes, oh, okay, we can't say anything. And then we can't make decisions because our fight and flight center is taken over.
Yes, but what you forget is that what about intuition? What about...
Yeah, but you can't even get to intuition if the amygdala is screaming at you.
I know, but if you are balanced and in harmony, you have to listen to your gut feelings. You have to listen to, that.
Yeah, but this is my point, Vimla, is that we've got to first get that brain to calm down. So you've got to get the amygdala off the table screaming. And once you get him off the table...
in your technique, because my technique is a little bit different, but in your technique, how do you control that?
So what you do is you learn to interrupt the brain when it screams at you.
And how do you do that?
So I'll tell you how you do it.
Yeah.
So I want you to say to me, Terrence, you're a great teacher. Say that now.
Terrence.
La, 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 la.
Oh.
Say it again.
Terrence.
La, 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 la. What have I done?
You've stopped me in my tracks.
I interrupted you.
Yeah.
So you do the same with your thoughts. So my brain goes, oh my God, Terrence, you're breathing in, breathing out. Yeah, but then breathing in.
Okay, so you use breathwork.
I use breath.
Okay, that's what I thought.
There we go.
There we go. Okay.
And then through that interruption, your brain starts learning you in control. And you stop that firing and wiring and that madness. And eventually it becomes your pattern. And then once you calm, then intuition and everyone else can come to the party.
Okay, well, you see, that's very interesting because from the yogic point of view, if you do yoga and all the principles of yoga, you're already in that state of mind. So, for example, I've been thrown so many challenges. I don't know really that many people that could have got through them with a smiling face and being calm and cool like I am. I have actually managed to go through the challenges with a calm mind. So that's one of the big benefits that yoga can give you, because if you are a person that has been doing yoga for a while, I wouldn't say the beginner, but I would say somebody who's an intermediate or at an advanced stage, they are already calm and collected. And the challenges that are thrown at you, I believe, are responsible for your growth, for your spiritual growth. You basically ask for those challenges, which is a completely, because some people say, oh, I'm a victim. Why is this happening to me? I look at it from another point of view. I look upon it as a welcoming challenge, because what do I have to actually learn from this? Instead of getting all flabbergasted and sobbing and saying I'm a victim and why me, I say, hang on here. Why have I been given this challenge? What do I actually need to learn? What is it that I'm missing? And therefore, I approach it from another point of view, saying, okay, get the emotion out. How do I solve this problem? And because I'm the person that I am, I find a solution. I believe that everything has a solution when you're calm and relaxed. I know I'm on another level from the average student, but this is what I'm actually trying to get them to learn.
So what you're basically selling is the end product.
Yes.
You are selling your house can look like this if you've cleaned it.
Yes.
Your house can look like this and it can deal with whatever.
Yes.
If you've used my products, that's what you're selling. Where I think with me, and I've been thinking about it a lot recently, I almost feel like mine is the base entry point.
Yes.
Mine is almost for people that really are starting from ground zero.
Yes.
They haven't done the yoga yet or discovered it. They need an entry point. And I think my brain edit is quite an entry point for people that haven't yet. And then as that changes them, I have found they will then go into spiritual practices. Suddenly they'll come back and go,
yes,
I've started doing yoga. Like a client came to a retreat of mine in Vermelho in Portugal, because I do a retreat there twice a year.
Yes.
You know, at Christian Louboutin's hotel.
That's right. Yes.
And we have a yoga teacher in the morning. And this guy that's a businessman, never did yoga. He came back and he said he got himself a yoga teacher in London because, he just felt now it took him to another level.
Well, that's wonderful.
So what I'm saying is, I think you are sort of the end product, and you're saying this is where you can be, where what I'm trying to do is I'm saying, for those that are just starting off and it feels like, oh my God, I'm going mad. You go, here is a way to interrupt the madness. And then once you balance that out, then there's another level. Then there's another level.
It's not, I see your point, but I think that mine is also inspirational. So therefore, what my goal is to get somebody who's never done yoga in their life actually think about doing it. I mean, people from all walks of life. I get into a taxi, a black cab. There's a nice cabbie driving me around, and he's saying, oh, tell me, you look very interesting. What do you do? And I said, oh, I'm a yoga teacher. And all of a sudden, he turns around and says, I've always wanted to do that, but I thought it was for girls only. Oh, no. I start, in my spiel about how yoga's for everyone and how. So one of my greatest missions in my life is actually to be inspirational, where people can actually think, oh, I can do that too. And then get into yoga through my teachings and my books and videos and all of that. And then to see what the end product could be. So from that point, you are right, because I am showing people how they can actually live in the...
Yeah, you're the example.
And yes, but then at the same time, I'm still trying to get people who I engage with all the time.
Yeah, that's the hook. You've got to bring them in. Yeah, you can't...
I like what you're doing, because you're also starting them from the ground up. Somebody that hasn't even thought yet about doing yoga. Yes?
Well, precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely. Because you go, but a breath in and a breath out calms me down. And then a businessman will go, oh, but where can I get a breath in, breath out? Oh, I can do a yoga class, still get my physical exercise.
That's right.
But it benefits me mentally as well.
That's right.
So that's the hook.
It is the hook.
Yeah.
So it's actually working in unison in a certain way, isn't it?
Well, we've always said that.
Yes, we always said that.
What we teach
Yeah,
works well
exactly.
together.
Yes.
Yeah. But you were talking about the challenges, and my background again.
Yes, I do.
You do know my background. Grew up in an orphanage, all that stuff. But at 16, emancipated myself. Went by myself. I had to find a job, etc. And now I can look back and I can go, those challenges are what formed me, created me,
Yes.
that made me Terrence the Teacher.
Yes.
But while I was going through it, it was very difficult to know that.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really and of course, because you didn't have the tools,
Yeah.
you didn't know how to handle it. But I think one of the number one things that I can say to people is that you've actually asked for that challenge. And people think, no, I would never would have asked for that challenge. But like you say, when you look back on your life, then you'll say, that is like, now I get why I needed that challenge. So I'm trying to actually help people see another perspective of life instead of being a victim and feeling like your victimhood, because victimhood is really gets you nowhere in life, because you don't grow from that. There's no spiritual growth from being a victim. And then you spiral downwards, and then it gets into your system. Then you get sick. Then emotionally, they have linked all cancers to emotional trauma. And the doctors are saying that now. I mean, doctors are even saying, go and meditate, go and breathe, go and try and help yourself, because victimhood is really against all the principles. If you can look at life in another way, in kind of taking that victimhood out, and saying, what lesson do I need to learn? But don't you think that's a good way of looking?
Of course it is. But there's always a but, is that if someone is a victim, it's a learned behavioral pattern.
That's correct.
So if you put them on an MRI scan and you look at how their brain fires, that is just who they are. So what you have to try and do is that, I call it, you've got to interrupt the old pattern. So breathe in, breathe out. And if you interrupt the victim enough, or the way of thinking enough, and you create a safe space, so now they're calming down, the vagus nerve is calm, the parasympathetic nervous system is calm. In that calm space, you then can go, is there a different way of thinking about this?
Yes.
Is there a different way of moving through this?
That's right.
But they first have to feel safe, because in fright and flight, people can't. They can't make a different choice, or they can't see that this could be beneficial, what they're going through. So we have to first take someone to a safe space and then say, maybe there's a different way to do this. The other thing I would say is that, we are in an evolutionary creation. Man, animal, planet, we've evolved. And evolution is movement. But how does evolution happen? It only happens in discomfort. The cell had to break into two cells. And then those two cells had to break into two more. And that was painful. And if you look at any form of evolutionary experience,
yes, it is
even
painful.
giving birth is a painful experience.
Yes.
So evolution is movement, but it's also discomfort. If you go to gym and you try and grow a muscle, you have to tear a muscle. You actually have to physically tear a muscle to grow it. So why wouldn't that be the same for our mental and emotional stuff as well? So yes, it would be great if everything is just wonderful and amazing and there's no challenges and stuff. But no, we wouldn't
Yes.
evolve.
Well, I agree with that. But see, that's where the spiritual training comes in. And I think it's a nice combination. Like, I know what you mean. Nobody's going to be open to these thoughts and ideas that I'm presenting. But until they're calm, until they reach that level. But in yoga, we have another way, because through meditation, you're actually connecting. You're connecting to your higher self. And when you're connecting to that higher self, all these universal truths will actually lodge into your brain, and then you get it. So it's kind of working yourself upwards to the point where you can listen and understand what those universal principles are. And that comes through meditation. So in our yoga school of thinking, it is reaching that point through meditation. So that is our vehicle to truth and getting into that, what you call that calmness in your 3 triangle method. And then that's when the spiritual angle of life comes in, which gives you such peace and serenity and basically happiness. So we're doing the same thing, but we're just weaving it in slightly different ways.
Maslow's needs hierarchy, which is also a triangle, explains it as well. That's why I say it's not like we even invented anything new, because the basis of needs hierarchy is food, sex, love, home. There's a 5th one, but it's the basic stuff. I think oxygen, we have to breathe.
Yes.
So first you have to cover the basics before you can go up the pyramid.
Oh, that is true.
And then the last part of the Maslow's need hierarchy is self-actualization,
exactly.
which you would call spiritualism or connecting to God or
self-realization.
Whatever, self-realization.
Yes.
But again, there is always that starting point.
It has to be.
And I think maybe that's where I've gone with my focus, is that I genuinely almost focus on the basic part of, it's almost like I'm, when you have a car and you want to repaint it, you have to first take the old paint off.
Yes.
And so I think that's what I'm doing.
Yes.
So I'm doing the base work, make sure that it's, primed and perfect.
Yes.
And then someone can put on the nice paint and add all the extra.
Yes. Yes.
I think that's maybe the only difference, but the outcome is the same.
Well, that's the point, the outcome.
The outcome.
So, and what is it that we're really trying to do is to actually raise the consciousness of this planet, where if people have that wisdom and they have that knowledge, then we wouldn't be in the world, the mess, the chaos that we're in now. And so my mission is, how do you do that? And in the yoga world, we do it by raising your frequency. So when you raise your frequency, then you can look at what people have with lower frequency, not to judge, but just to observe. It's a different word, not judge, observe. That lower frequency requires certain types of patterns of action, where if you have a higher frequency, which is basically more of a love principle, humanity, compassion, that type of thing, you wouldn't be committing these atrocities. It just wouldn't occur to you to hurt and rob and steal and all of that. And the only way to do that in our yoga world is to actually raise your consciousness. Now, how are you going to do that? That's the spiritual.
Yeah.
So that is the level. So I think it's a wonderful thing, because you're starting at the base, like you say, scrubbing the basics, and then the embellishment begins. And then when people actually start that embellishment, that is when they rise. They call that phoenix rising, when you're spiritual. And the kundalini, which is the tantric yoga, which stirs in the base, and then the wisdom moves up into the 3rd eye and then upwards. So we need you. We need you to do this.
I think the world needs all of us.
Yes, I do think
and
so.
I do think that we're all here for each other.
Yes.
If you think about the people that are actually filming this podcast and doing the technical stuff, We need them so that we can sit here and have this conversation.
That's right.
And then this conversation gets recorded, and then people hear it, and then we need the people that buy it. And so we all need each other.
Yes.
You know, I think this is what's so beautiful about this creation, is that we think that, you know, someone is more special than the other, but actually every role is so important.
It is.
So when you say to me, we need you, I think we all need each other.
No, I think so.
100%.
No, but I love the work that you're doing. What I mean is that there's not enough of that, I think. But I think it's changing, and I think attitudes towards the whole mental health issue is completely changed. I mean, before it was almost a taboo subject. Nobody discussed it. Certainly when I was growing up, and it was, she's going to a shrink. Gosh, what's wrong with that?
And if you were a man, they were like, just get on with it.
Yeah.
I was in the South African Army.
Oh my.
You know, I was an officer. You didn't have time to talk about feelings and emotions.
No.
You just got on with it.
No.
Yeah.
And I quite like that about the new generation.
Yeah.
That they are very open, and they're more emotional, and they talk, especially, well, women have always, I think, spoken more to each other about their issues and problems. They have their sisters and their aunts and things. But I think for men, I think men's mental health is actually a wonderful opening, because why, you know, we're all human beings. Why are only women suffering and not men? Of course men are suffering.
Well, I'll bring in my evolution example.
Okay, good.
If we use evolution as an example, we were hunter-gatherer.
Yes.
You know, thousands of years ago.
Yes.
There was no time for men to have emotions, because it was a very physical, survivalist, environment. But what happened is that we became quite successful as an animal. This is why we are the ones that are now controlling this beautiful planet and destroying it most of the time. And how did we do that? It's because we became very mental and academical. We went to thought, and we studied, and we learned, and then we created, and, you know, we created the wheel and aeroplane. So we went from physical to mental. But we have three things that makes up the human. It's the physical, the mental, and what's the other one? Emotion. And what I think is where we are at in evolution is we've dealt with the physical.
Yes.
We've dealt with the mental. I mean, everyone can get education. Everyone knows, you know, themselves. The last part that we need to deal with now is emotion.
I agree with you.
And this is why this is taking off.
Well, I do agree 100% with that. And that's part of the evolutionary process, because this is actually what's been missing. Yes, that people are finally open and talking about their mental health. And I actually think that it's fantastic. And that's the only way I think the evolutionary process will continue. Like you say, the other two aspects have been pretty much taken care of. But now the emotional side. Let people express themselves. Let them express how they feel and what hurts them, and all of this. And I think it's a pattern that I've seen, especially with the young generation, because I have grandchildren, and they come up with the most amazing questions to me all the time. And they want to express themselves, and they don't really know exactly how to actually do it. And I sit there, and they call me Amma, which means grandma in Indian, and they're teenagers. So one is 18, the other one's 16, and the other one's 14. And two girls and a boy. And now the boy, who's 14, he's coming around and asking questions. And why do I feel like this? And how shall I handle it? And when somebody says this to me, I don't want to be mean to them. How do I? It's very interesting. And me, as a grandmother, is so happy to actually answer all their questions. And I find that really I'm so satisfied. I can't express how I feel about it. It's wonderful.
But I suppose with your background as a yogi and in what you teach, I think you have a deeper understanding of these things. So yes, you're a grandmother, but I think you bring a bit more to the pot. That's what I just think with your background,
Yeah, well,
in yoga and stuff.
What was really sweet, my granddaughter, we had lunch the other day, just the two of us. She said, I don't want anyone else. I just want you. Oh, I was so flattered. My goodness. So off we go to our local restaurant. And then she said, I find it very interesting, Amma, that everyone's always coming to you and asking you for advice. Must be very good advice.
I want to use, if I can I use this to segment into the third part of my Brain Edit program?
Yes.
Yeah, because I'd like to talk about the Brain Edit program, if you don't mind.
Yes, no, of course I don't mind.
Because in the third equation, so we've had the response model, we've had the coping, but in the third one, I use something called the PAC model.
Oh.
But it's the PAC model remodeled. Now, the PAC model is an old psychological model from the 50s that divided us into 3 groups mentally. And it said, you're either a parent, you're either an adult or a child in your psychology. And they could actually do tests and they could figure out if you were more adult, more child, more parent. So they could actually determine if you had to be in a situation, if you would act more mature, or would you be more like a parent to save the situation, or would you be childlike and go, oh my God, I don't want this, and walk away. And we all have all 3. We all have a parent, we all have a child, we all have the adult in us. So that's again the triangle. You've got the child, the parent, and the adult.
Right.
But what I now teach my clients is the child is very important because that's where the emotion sits.
Yes.
So you've got to acknowledge this poor child with its emotions. But who acknowledges the child? It's the parent. So you've got to be kind and caring and advise the child. And then the adult is the one that goes, but now you've got to eat your broccoli.
Yes.
I was nice and I know it hurt, but now you've got to eat the broccoli.
Yes.
And I think this is why the kids also come to you, because you are the parent to them, the adult in the room that moves them on. But in my program, I teach people that they can become their own parent.
Oh.
And they can become their own adult. Because like me, they grew up in orphanage, I never had parents.
Yeah.
So I had to parent myself often to move on.
Yes.
And then at some point I had to become an adult and go, oh gosh, I've got to get a job. Because if I don't have a job, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills.
Yes.
So I had to take myself from the child to the parent to the... When I'm emotional, I become child again. And I'm sure you've seen this. There's moments where you go, God, is that an adult in the room? And so that never leaves you. But I have a coping mechanism now. So now I can go and I can parent the upset child.
But it's actually very nice to have all those 3 aspects because...
There we go.
But
it moves you on.
Because being childlike is actually because it makes you curious. It makes you... Not only the tantrum side,
but the problem with young people is they get stuck in the child because they're like, yeah, but I'm upset, I'm bored, I'm down, I'm depressed. Cool, great, feel depressed. We acknowledge, fine.
Yes.
Give you a minute or 2, or maybe I'll give you 20 minutes. But at some point you need to move because evolution is about movement.
That's right.
And that's where you then have to bring in the parent and go, little one, I know you're upset.
So how do you do that with young people?
Well, precisely that.
Yes.
Because if you tell kids to act like a perfect parent to themselves, it's fascinating to watch because they're so much nicer to themselves.
Yes.
Where the parent will go, well, you were so naughty. You're staying in for 2 weeks. You can't leave. They'll go, okay, Sandra, you were naughty. Now, I know that you didn't want to be naughty. So next time, just try and do better, okay? And now you can go.
Yes.
So they are much kinder with themselves as a parent. And they're forgiving themselves. So they're learning self-forgiveness.
Well, that's a very important point.
Yeah.
Self-forgiveness.
Self-forgiveness.
Yes.
And then, but now you can't stay in the nice parent, the non-judgmental parent, because you've got to get on. So then they have to become the adult and go, but Sandra, now we've got to do our homework. And they have to get themselves to that role.
Yes.
And they do it so well.
And do you have any clients that are children?
I've worked from 12 years old up.
Oh, wonderful.
And it's the younger ones that are so, inquisitive and so excited about
Yes,
this because,
exactly.
because, and the sad part is they don't often have, just like I didn't, have the perfect parent as an example.
Yes.
So,
No, we see that a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
so, but yeah, they have a way that they can become the nice parent. But there is always the adult that's a reminder that, but you've got to get on. You've got to get your homework done. You can't just
Yes.
smoke the whole time. If it's not good for your health. At some point, if you put them in the adult role, they ask different questions.
Yes, they do.
Is smoking with my friends good for me? Well, maybe.
No, maybe not.
But because the parents don't allow them to become the adult in the room,
Yes.
they keep them the naughty child.
Yes.
They never think about it.
Well, I've seen that many times, and with overbearing parents.
Well, there we go.
And all of that. So, I mean, I've always tried. One of my big lobby things was always to try and get meditation and yoga in schools, to try and get those young people starting already at that element to actually see those aspects of themselves within themselves. And yeah, it was very tough trying to get through the political system.
Totally.
And totally. But children are so, they absorb. They're the best students of all because they are ready to absorb.
Because they're not set yet.
No.
They're not set in stone. Their brain is still developing and it's still open and they still, are ready to learn and can learn.
That's right.
And we are the ones that are setting the example, and we sometimes as adults can keep kids stuck in a groove.
Yes.
And create a pattern that's not necessarily healthy for them. And again, that's the whole thing with the brain edit is giving a kid the opportunity, or a grown-up kid, because I work with kids at uni, etc., or young adults, to interrupt those learned patterns from the parents, from the past.
Yes.
Like I had to interrupt my past, stories that, orphan child, blah, 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 all the sad.
Yes.
I had to interrupt it and in that space go, but let's be a nice parent. Let's be the parent you never had. Change those beliefs, patterns, and then the adult me moves forward.
Yes.
With new direction,
yes.
new goals.
Yeah. No, I really see that would really, really work.
Yeah.
Especially for those ages, those teenage years, because you are still at that process where you haven't really formed those patterns and things. And also I think there's a parenting. Parenting is a very important thing because because now I'm on this third generation of already being a parent, and then I'm seeing my children be parents. So I have all these grandchildren. I have 6 grandchildren now. And looking at their parenting skills I don't interfere very much, but I've also noticed that parenting has changed where the fathers take more of a role within their families. That didn't happen when I was basically parenting myself. My husband was away on business all the time, creating the family wealth, and one understood that. And so it was really down to me. But now in the second generation, I see the parents getting more involved and much more excited about being parenting, and very involved. And there's been a bit of clash in my family because their father thought it was a great thing to miss birthday parties and all these things, not realizing that these children suffered, that he never came to a school play or never came to a program of theirs, never saw a sports day or anything. And he's very proud of that. And I put him aside recently and said, you don't understand what damage you actually done. They still remember that there was an empty seat, there was an empty chair, and they were hurt by it. And now you're telling your son that he should not be attending any of their parties and things. Business comes first. I said, I'm sorry, children come first. If you are a parent, that comes first. Business comes second. So he wasn't very happy with my assessment. I said, do not pass that thinking that to the next generation. And they're not buying it anyway. They're not buying it. They want to be with their children. They're enjoying fatherhood. So I'm so happy that that's moved on.
Yeah, and that's again where self-parenting is so helpful. Because if you have someone that, by example, didn't maybe rock
Yes.
up
Yes.
to your plays or your award ceremonies, there's healing that needs to happen.
That's right.
That person can't come and heal you because it's happened, it's done.
Yes.
You can't go back in time. You can do that healing. You can be your own parent.
That's right.
Because I think that's the other thing, is that this journey of mental wellness and taking care of ourselves is a very selfish journey, because you've got to take care of number one. You can't say it's someone else's fault or someone else to blame.
Yes.
You take responsibility for you, and you heal all these aspects of you. I can't go back to my parents and say, well, I was in an orphanage. I had to parent myself.
Yes.
And heal that part.
And you did.
Myself,
yes.
Selfishly. And then when you are selfish, take care of you, a better version of yourself steps into the world.
That's right.
And then you can help the world more.
Well, this is what we say in yoga. That's one of our things. You have to care for yourself, self-love, not using this in a selfish way, but taking care of yourself, loving yourself. Because before you can love anyone else or take care of anyone else, you have to be whole.
Precisely.
You have to be healthy. You have to be fit. You have
Precisely.
to be all in one.
Yeah.
So that's one of our major principles. So it's the same. It's always, the same thing.
It's always the same.
It's all the same. I love it. It's all the same.
Yeah.
So I've so enjoyed having you with me today. We could go on.
I know, we could
and
just
on.
chat.
We could go on.
I don't even feel like this is a podcast. I feel like we're just chatting to each other. Is this
now,
a podcast?
Is it? Is it? Now, because I'm the Champagne Yogi, would love to offer you a sip.
Oh, thank you.
And then we can have a toast.
I hope this is non-alcoholic. Is it non-alcoholic? Because I told you.
Yes.
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Terrence.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
All the best.
Thank you.